Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, from the say Kalayim Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Kakadash. And double honors to the elders and apostles, great Muslim, do rule and teach well. And honors to the brothers pushing the truth across the four corners with all sincerity. Alright, tells the plenty, check it in with another video. They'll only be edifying to the hopeful elect. Alright, so, we're currently in the new moon. Right, we're in the midst of it. So, you just got to keep it, man. Refrain from doing your own thing and things like that. Make these videos, get some reading in, watch things that edify your spirit, edify you, right? Things like that. So we're just going to get to some precepts. This is the book of Ecclesiastes 12:1, right? Because this came up at camp yesterday. Remember now that Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. Yeah, so remember that Creator in the days of thy youth. Right? So, the Lord a lot of times chooses men in their youth, when they're in like their late teens, early 20s, those type of ages, right? Young men, right? However, the Lord has no age limit, right? The Lord could choose a man that's of older age, right? But a lot of times, the Lord chooses young men because, when you're young, your mind is fresh, right? And you're more willing to accept new information. You're more like your brain is more fresh, pretty much, right? You're not set in the ways of this world and of this society. You're more willing to change and accept new information. Like I said before, it's all through the Rakak Kodash. So you could be a man of older age and still be in this truth, man. Of course. All right. Well, the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. But the point is really, right? Seek the Lord now. All right. Don't wait till these days come nigh, Jacob's trouble, and now you're trying to seek this truth, right? Martial law in the streets. Now you're trying to seek the man of the Lord, right? Like it says in this one. This is the book of Amos 8:11. All the days come, saith Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, thou wilt send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread nor thirst of water, but of hearing the words of the Lord. So the Lord is going to pull his men off the streets, right? Because you seek the Lord through taking heed thereto unto his men. Because the Lord's men, his prophets, all right, they're his mouthpiece. Surely the Lord will do nothing, but he revealed his secrets unto his servants, the prophets, right? And before new things spring up, then I do declare them, right? Roughly paraphrasing that precept, right? So the Lord declares what happens next through his prophets, right? The word prophesy goes into pro before for side to speak or future speak, all right? Because that's what prophets do. They speak and tell you things that are going to happen before it happens, right? So why is it going to be a famine of hearing the words of the Lord? Right? Because as the prophets, the elders, apostles, a great millstone, down to the men out there in the streets, I've been speaking on Jacob's trouble, a time of martial law, a time of great tribulation, right? A time where different police groups in the streets, you're going to have people fighting the government, people looting, breaking into homes, 2 Ezra 15, Matthew 24, Isaiah 19, Egyptian against Egyptian, and different precepts like that. Jeremiah 36 and 7, right? Different things like that. 2 Ezra 6 as well, right? So different things like that are gonna pop off, man. All right. So yeah, obviously the Lord's not gonna have his men out there in the street corners while all hell is breaking loose. Also, these elites, they're gonna pull our videos off the internet, so there's gonna be no way for you to get them, right? Because they already been censoring us. They already have the technology in place to, through the AI and different things to flag our videos, get them taken down. So we use, code words. Eventually, they're gonna take down everything, and you're not gonna be able to get it. Right? It's all gonna be scrubbed off the internet. All right. So yeah, you gotta get this truth right now, because the times are coming where this thing, you're not gonna be able to get this truth. You're not gonna be able to get these breakdowns. All right. You're not gonna be able to hear the prophets and get the true understanding of the times that we're in and how to receive salvation. Okay? And they shall wander from sea to sea, from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord. They shall not find it. So yeah, different people are gonna be seeking, right? Jake's gonna be looking, man, where they at? Weren't they always around here in this area? Or like, what, wasn't there a brother over there? Weren't there brothers over there? Like, man, how do I find these guys? They're not gonna be able to get this truth. All right, they're not gonna be able to find it. All right. So yeah, so that's the famine of the word. You gotta seek this truth right now. All right, you gotta watch the videos, man. If the Lord's dealing with you, you'll be able to understand. Right. This is the book of Isaiah 55:6. Seek ye the Lord while he may be found. Call ye upon him while he is near. So yeah, you gotta seek the Lord while he may be found, man. You gotta seek the Lord now, right? Because times are gonna come, right, where the Lord's gonna pull his men off the streets, and then you're not gonna be able to seek the Lord. Right? You're gonna be left out there, right? You're gonna be asked out, right? You scoffers out there, you people, walking by, right? All things like that. You condemned yourself. You pretty much condemned yourself, man. Right? Because you had opportunity and liberty to find this truth. All right? To take heed. Right? Your brothers would be out there. It'd be hot. It'd be cold. You had opportunity to just stand there and absorb the information. Right? The brothers don't charge you nothing. Right? But instead, you chose to just keep on doing you, going about your day, living your life, and all that bullshit. Right? So now, when the Lord pulls his men off the streets, you're going to be asked out there, man. Because, like it says in Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter, right? If you tell, us being the watchmen, right? We tell you, warning you of the times that were coming in, right? Where, we have martial law, race wars, different people fighting the government, right? Civil wars, all through the prophecies, all through the scriptures, because the spirit of prophets is subject to the prophets. If you're a prophet back then, you'd be a prophet now, right? Instead of taking heed to the voice of the prophet, to the prophets, right? You chose to ignore, right? And like it says in Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter, then your blood is going to be on your head, right? Because at the end of the day, that prophet gave you the warning, but you ignored it. So the blood is going to be on your head, right? The blood will be on our hand if we knew and we didn't go out there, right? Then it would be our fault. But we went out there. We continue to go out there. And then these 2/3, you don't want to listen. This is the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 8, verse 55. It therefore asks no more questions concerning the multitude of them that perish. Yeah, don't worry about them, man. Alright? And this is Archangel Uriel talking to Ezra, alright, while he was still in Babylon, breaking down different tokens and signs of the end times. Right? For when they had liberty, they despised the Most High, thou scorn of his laws, and forsook his ways. Yeah, this is the time of liberty right now, man. The time to get right. And this period and this time was ushered in through Yahushai's sacrifice, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Right? But his true name in the Hebrew is Yahushai HaMashiach. Yahushai, the anointed. Right? So, and also while I'm speaking on that, right, which the world pushes, which came out of the Renaissance, right, our Messiah is not a white man. He's not an Edomite, right? He's a dark-skinned man with white woolly hair with an afro, like it says in in Revelation, the 1st chapter. Okay, Yahushua is not the Messiah is not a white man with blonde hair and blue eyes, right? He's a black man, right, with a white woolly hair like an afro, right? He's coming back to save his people, right? To bring about the deliverance, of the elect. and to bring destruction to this place, America, right? And he's gonna crack those skies in the Middle East while these nations are fighting one another, and then, you know, these nations are gonna stop fighting against each other to try to go take down Yahushua. Yahushua is gonna burn them up, and then go bring about the destruction of America. Of course, alongside the ICBMs, nuclear missiles, the chariots also. All right. So yeah, you're gonna have all that going down. America's gonna be completely destroyed. All right. Verse 57. Right. So yeah, while there was still liberty, right? You know, these people, these 2/3, they forsook the Lord's ways. They thought scorn of His law. They thought it was they took mockery, right? And they forsook the Lord. Right? They forsook His ways. They forsook His prophets. Right? They ignored His prophets. Right? Moreover, they have trodden down His righteous. Yeah, you know, don't they do that? Right? Back then, you know, they were seeking to slay them. You know, constantly, right? Seeking to slay them, seeking to get them jammed up. Right? And they do the same things now, right? They seek to push lies and falsehoods. Right? They say that we're violent. They try to push, you know, all kinds of these false narratives against us. You know, these guys that push this. You know, some of these guys sold out, man. Right? Pushing all these false narratives that were just this evil, wicked group of people, right? And things like that. So yeah, right? And said in their heart that there is no power, and that knowing they must die. Yeah, you know, because you got jakes out there that really believe that. They don't believe in the Most High, right? They believe in, you know, false gods. You know, they don't believe in anything at all, right? Or they just think that the Most High is just not going to do nothing. Right? It's just everything's going to continue business as usual. That's why the scripture says the day of the Lord, it will be like a thief in the night. Right? Because these people are unaware. They're going to be caught by surprise. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them. Right? Because that's what these people think. They think that nothing's gonna happen. All right. So that, like, there's gonna be no Jacob's trouble. That America is just gonna continue business as usual. That society, you know, the whole fabric in continual functioning of, you know, global society as a whole is gonna continue to function. All right. But in Jacob's trouble, everything is gonna change. Right? Which really is gonna be the whole world's trouble. You know, not just America's, but it's going to be primarily trouble for Jacob, right, for the Israelites, right? Time of martial law, all culminating in the hour of temptation, which is going to be in the midst of Jacob's trouble. You know, where certain men are going to be pulled and captured, taken into concentration camps, and then they're going to pretty much say, you either have to take this MOTB or we're going to put you to death, all right? And you have to pray that you have a spirit, if that be in your times, to reject that MOTB and to choose death, right? Because it's better to die for the Lord than to take the MOTB and die by nuclear missiles and not receive salvation on this side, right? You'll reincarnate on the other side, right? It's much better and much more preferred to just die and be executed on this side, as tragic as it may be, and then, you know, be on the fathership. You know, it's much more preferred. All right. So Lord willing, you know, you're edified, and I'm gonna let that be that. Shalom.